Our next video on ratio focuses on a type of problem to do with recipes. Very, very common. There are three main types of problems that we're going to look at. The first one we're looking at is simply rewriting a recipe by scaling up. So if you look carefully at this recipe is for 16 gingerbread men. 16 there, 16 there. These are the ingredients that you need to make 16 gingerbread men. The question refers to Hamish wanting to make 24. So what you're trying to do here is take the 16 recipe and rewrite it as a recipe for 24. Now the absolute key here is to use a multiplier. These usually appear on a calculator paper. What you need to know is the multiplier that connects 16 to 24. What you multiply 16 by to make 24. And as always with multipliers, to find a multiplier connecting two numbers, you do the finish divided by the start. So in this case, we are going to do 24 divided by 16. This gives us 3 over 2, turn it to a decimal, 1.5. So we have found the multiplier 1.5. There's often 1 mark on a GCSE paper if you've identified that multiplier. So now we apply that multiplier to each of these. We do 180 times 1.5, which is 270. Of course, you can use your calculator. We do 40 times 1.5, which is 60. We do 110 times 1.5, which is 165. We do 30 times 1.5, which gives us 45. We make sure we write those answers down here: 270, 60, 165, and 45. It is as simple as that. The easiest type of problem you're given, simply scaling up the recipe, and the absolute key here was finding that multiplier. Remember, to find the multiplier, you just do the finish divided by the start. In this case, 24 divided by 16 gave the 1.5. If you remember anything, it's that multiplier, and then you can solve those problems. A second type of problem that appears is like this one. Here you're given a recipe. We're given a recipe for 12 shortcakes. And these are the things we need. We're then told what Robert has in his cupboard. And our job is to work out how much could he make. Clearly, when he needs 50 grams of sugar to make 12, he's got 500 grams in the cupboard. He can make a lot. The question is, how many? So for each ingredient, you need to find out how many times he could make that recipe, which means we're going to need to be doing some division before we do this. So, if he has 500 grams of sugar, if you divide 500 by the 50 that he needs, he could make 10 times the recipe. He's got enough sugar to make 10 times the recipe. Next, you look at the butter. If he's got 1,000 grams of butter, he's got 1,000 grams of butter. The recipe requires 200. How many times could he make that recipe? So 1,000 divided by 200 means he could make 5 times that recipe. So now we know the best he could do at the moment is only make 5 lots of the recipe. He has sugar for 10 lots, but he only has enough butter to make the recipe 5 times over. So it's the limit is 5. He's got 1,000 grams of flour. He needs 200. So 1,000 divided by 200. Again, he's got enough to make the recipe 5 times over with his flour. Finally, for the milk, he's got 500 mils of milk, half a litre in the fridge. He only needs a dash of milk, look, 10 millilitres. 500 divided by 10 means he could make that recipe 50 times over, because he's got loads of milk. What you have to look for here is what's the limit, what's holding him back. He is held back and limited by the fact that he only has enough butter and flour to make the recipe 5 times over. So he can only make 5 lots of the recipe. The answer's not 5, is it? It asked us the greatest number of shortcakes he can make. So 5 lots of the recipe that we know makes 12. 60 is the maximum that he can make. So, first example, second example, there's dividers, there's multipliers taking place. How many of this fit into that is a common theme. Third and final problem type. Third and final problem type. Again, we have a recipe. This is a recipe for pear and almond crumble. Doesn't matter what it is. What it matters is it's for 4 people. Jessica wants to make it for 10 people. Here's her ingredients in the cupboard. Now, we're not being asked here what's the maximum she can make. What we're being asked here is, does she have enough? Which ingredients does she need to buy more of? So we are going to have to think here. What has she got? What does she need? Now, this is what she has got. But the question is, what does she need? So, as before, a recipe for 4, scaling up to 10. So we're going to take the 4 and scale it up to 10. We need to know the multiplier that goes from 4 to 10. So, as always, we do the finish, 10, divided by the start, 4. This gives us 2.5. So, we're going to need 2.5 lots of everything. So, our multiplier is 2.5. So, for our plain flour, 80 times 2.5 will tell us what we need. 80 times 2.5, we need 200. For our recipe with 60 grams of almonds, we need 2.5 lots of the 60 to make our recipe. So 60 times 2.5, 150. Our 90 grams of soft brown sugar is for the recipe for 4. To scale it up to the 10, we do the 90 times 2.5. Gives us 225. Our 60 grams of butter that we need for the recipe for 4, let's scale up the 60 using our multiplier, 2.5. We need 150 grams of butter. That's what we need. Then we've got 4 ripe pears. The 4 ripe pears for our recipe for 4 times 2.5 tells us that we need 10. So like the first problem, we've scaled up the recipe to find out how to make it for 10 people. Now remember, this is what she's got in her cupboard. We've now worked out what she needs. So she's got 200 grams of plain flour. She needs 200. Has she got enough? She has 250. She needs 200. She's fine. With the 100 grams of ground almonds, she's got 100, but she needs 150. Does she have enough? No. She needs 150. She's only got 100. She needs 50 grams more for the ground almonds. 200 grams of soft butter she's got. What does she need? 225. Does she have enough? Well, she needs 225. She's only got 200. She hasn't got enough. She needs 25 grams more. The 150 grams of butter she's got. What does she need? She needs 150. Does she have enough? She wants 150. She's got 150. She's got exactly the right amount. No need to weigh it out. She has 8 ripe pears. She needs 10. Does she have enough? Well, she needs 8. Sorry, she has 8. She needs 10. She does not have enough. She needs 2 more pears. You've solved the problem. You have said she needs more ground almonds, more brown sugar, and more pears. And you would write that here to get your conclusion mark at the end and say she needs to buy more ground almonds, more brown sugar, and more ripe pears. And you would have solved that problem.